long term, so that we can post this on Horizons and allow people to take the training when they're new to the software, or if they want to just refresh it as we move forward. Questica, we upgrade Questica every year, and this year the upgrade is more about the user experience, and so it looks completely different than it used to. And so we wanted to just make sure everybody has an opportunity to look and see what it looks like. The upgrade will happen this weekend. So when you log into Questica next week, you'll see these changes. And we wanted to make sure everybody had an opportunity before we did the upgrade to do a little bit of navigation training, so we don't lose functionality and we don't lose our opportunity for still being able to access budget to actual reports and things like that. So this training is really just to provide familiarization and some navigation help. Next week, we will post a navigation resource document that you can pull up on the county's website for finance budget with our resources and tools. And that is actually located in Horizons under departments, support services, finance, training, and then resources and tools. We have a lot of different resources that we post on this page. The right-hand column shows the last time it was updated, and all of the training materials that we have for Questica are down here. So as soon as we update them, the date on the side will change. It will have a new budget navigation training right here so that people have access to it after we're done. Hide that now. And so this is the dashboard view of Questica as it looks now. You'll note that none of the menu options on the left-hand side. Most of the menu options have been moved more towards the top so that it looks and acts more like a regular web page. The question mark here is to be able to log into Questica Help, which you need to log in. So administrators usually do that. If you have questions, you can always email the finance budget team for help. You can also show all of your bookmarks. So you can bookmark your pages, and that's like a quick list where you can quickly go and open that fund and program for the fiscal year noted and see what is out there. So that's a nice way. And then in order to bookmark a fund and program, the star is over on the left-hand side. That's some of the things that are new this year. You can also, on your name, click on sign out. If you get logged out because you've timed out or something like that, this is an easy way to log out and log back in. On this dashboard, we generally keep 1 to 2 months of budget calendar so that you have a quick reminder of what's due and when it's due or what resources are available. So like in for September, we've been doing Questica navigation training this week. And then over on this side, we put, current notes about what's going on under the fiscal year 23-24 budget development, dates that we think are important or changes. So when we figure out what COLA the CFO is going to have us put in the budget, including the budget, then we would note that here, what the amount is and when it might change. The other item on this dashboard is if you need to add another user, this is what you need to do to send us the information so that we can add a user. It's also helpful if you need us to end date a user. If someone has gone and we need to disable their access, it would be really helpful if you would notify us about that. In addition to that, one of the new features in Questica, if you look down at the very bottom, there's a calendar view, and it's kind of just a dotted line, but we've added items like the 28th, this little red identifier says that's today. We've added a test reminder for tomorrow for Christine. A different Questica navigation training icon shows up. So you can see there are things coming up on this calendar by scrolling across it. And we will probably be putting some of the budget calendar items on this view so people can see it. Since we're using, we might start using the calendar, we haven't identified the process, so we're really not using my tasks yet. So this would be if you, I believe it's if you get assigned a task, it would show up under your list of tasks. However, like I said, we're not using that feature quite yet. Most of your work is going to be done under budgeting, which is this center drop-down menu. And when you have access in your own programs, if you don't have access to the capital module, you won't see capital. You probably won't see the personnel module because most people have read only for personnel through their operating program. And then change requests are something that we'll be training on later in this year to do budget decision packages that the new CFO has decided will be ways to increase your budgets for next year. We don't use variables at all. And then the fund revenue forecast and fund balance forecast, we don't use either. And then the departments update, finance department updates the open book version. So I have that. As an administrator, I also have administration. So you may not see that, or they may be grayed out. But when you're budgeting, you'll be wanting to look at your fund and program. So instead of going to on the left-hand menu, seeing fund and program, this way you just drop down your menu, check fund and program, and it will take you to the last place you were in that fund and program. And you can see that on the upper left-hand corner, we have what fiscal year you're looking at. So you need to make sure that you're looking at the correct fiscal year. You're looking at 22-23, and I can click on finance here and just hit return, and it will bring it up. If I just type in 100 dash, it brings up all of the general fund programs so that you can click on the one that you want. Security rules will allow you to just click on percent or on the magnifying glass, and only what you have access to will show up. Where I have access to everything, I get everything. There's also the advanced search, which you can do a search. This is a sample where it says something that says Senate bill, or I could say lottery. And it didn't recognize that from this view. So it's not, it's a different drop down and advanced search feature, and that goes across all the different modules. But again, if I wanted just finance, I can easily type in my program number and then click once on the blue hyperlink. And this holds the 22-23 budget that I had set on the other page. So you've got your budget year on the left. We don't use the lock feature, but here's where it's starred to be in my bookmarks. Here's the fund program name, and the scenario is active because we only have one scenario. We're looking at the modified budget, which is up here at the top. If you hover over this, you can see that all the stages of the budget. We've got PNBY is prepared next budget year. Then we have base, requested, proposed, approved, and adopted. And then modified is what we have after July 1st, when any budget change would be modified. The demote icon at the top signifies that if we wanted to move a stage backwards, we have the ability in administration to do that, but we rarely demote funds and programs backwards because it does have an impact on some of our reports and the way they're developed. So as you can see under budget, or as you've gone to budget, you've collected all of this, then you can look at this budget now. Instead of being that bigger drop down menu, shows account summary, which is where I was the last time I was in. So this can give you an account structure summary showing just this year's budget, 22-23's budget, actual, the variance. The grid view shows that this is an annual view. It's displaying 2 years. So if I scroll over, it should show 2 years, 3 years. But when I do that, I also have to look at layout and see what my layout is showing me. I only click 1 year. That's the view that I had up on the layout. The forecast year is 23. with a 0 precision count. So your dollars are showing pennies. If you want no pennies, you change your precision to see whole dollars. Because as you know, we don't really budget in anything but full dollars. We'll have more training on grids and how to manipulate the grids as we go forward. But even here, this is the same where you can move your columns by dragging and dropping. And then if you really want, and then if you want to save how your folder looks, you can select System Default View and do a Save As, and I can name this Account Summary View. Say it's my default layout and save. That way, every time I come in here, this layout is going to be the same. I can have more than one layout, save more than one layout, and that way, if I want to see different things at different times, I can. In layout, you can also add columns. So here's the other years, whether you're 21's actual budget and variance, 22's actual budget and variance. I can add those so that you can see multi-years. And you can use the scroll bar at the bottom to see all the information because it's not always visible. One of the things that you can do is right mouse click and you can change your group by feature. You can freeze panes like you can in Excel, resize to content, fit all columns to the screen, or resize all columns to content. So if I were here and I didn't want to see other columns left of the account, or if I wanted to keep the account and scroll from reporting categories, I could click on reporting category and freeze. And then it freezes to the right of the column I'm on. So if you don't care about activity and you just want to go look at 23-24's budget to actual 22-23 actual budget, you can do that while the other ones still show. Additionally, you can look at your line item budget from budget when you're inside your program. And this gives you all of your line items and how you're going to enter your budget. So this is your mid-year estimate layout. Here's your descriptions and your dollar amounts for 22-23. So when you're looking at, you can also change the fiscal year you're in. Up at the top, you can easily click to 23-24 and see the same view. But now you're seeing that your mid-year estimate column is coming from wages and salaries. Your descriptions, you've got your 23 budget amounts. We don't use allocations. That's something that they use in Canada, so that they have an overhead program and they want to allocate costs all out to all of their other programs. They can develop their budget in this format, then allocate the costs out to different targets. But since we don't do that, because then the parent organization wouldn't have any budget. You can also see your actuals from here. So in 22-23, when you're looking at actuals, I have a layout that shows me the account, reporting category, the amount, whether it came from miscellaneous receipts, payroll, accounts payable, department journal entries, things like that. Tells the JE line, posted date. I also have vendor information, PO information, and invoice number. So if I wanted to sort by vendor name, I would get all of the information by vendor name. This is a really nice place to look and see if something has been paid, because it does give you the PO number and the invoice in case someone's on the phone asking you if something's been paid. So that's account detail or actuals details by account. And then you can also do an actual comparison. And this comparison is looking at your budget to actual and your variance. So for like 21, you have actual, budget, and budget. What did you actually get out of your budget? I usually tend to rearrange my columns because I want to see budget on the left and actual on the right. And so then I can rearrange. I can also then save my layout. One thing you should know is that the 23 budgets are always going to be on the right. We also don't allow any access to write at the modified level except by finance. So that comment on the annual budget field is not going to be available to all of you. Let's see, what else can we go through? The next thing you might want to look at is your position and your position allocations. So if I click on position allocations, I'm going to go to a list of all of my positions that are in finance for this year. And then next year it would be the same. You would change years. It'll give you a list of all of your positions and who's in them. So this is where normally you would look under your salaries module or your personnel module with the menu on the left. This position is really not there for next fiscal year. So I can close that. I will, let's see. I can pick my position. And next year has no value either because we haven't loaded all the data in, or HR didn't load all the data in during testing. But this is where you can look, once you open a position, you have a budget. This is the last place I was the budget tab. So you can see how much my position would cost for the FTE that I am. If you look at the general tab, which is up here on the left, you can look at the position information and see what the name of the position, the number, the position type is PERS retiree. FTE definition is half an FTE, 1,040 hours, pay grade, temporary salaries, who the employee is, a description. We use this description and it carries forward from year to year. So we use this to indicate when the positions were started, if they're a new position since we went live with Wizard. So those notes have a fiscal year in front of them to let you know what year that note pertains to. Also shows your HR division. If you wanted to look at the wage on this page, it shows I'm being paid at a grade. I have a grade number, a step number, a next step date, which is the next evaluation period. And then it's got wages for July of 22 and July of 23. Now, if this is a position that has, let's see, this one, she's not here in that position anymore. In this position, she was also a grade. She's an R27A. Her next step number was 5. This is showing in July of 22. She was going to the top step. If it's a salaried position, you would see the minimum salary. It's that it's costed using a salary, minimum salary, maximum salary, the current salary, the month that the evaluation period is due, and the 5% increase. And then these yellow lines down here show that the projected salary for the next few years is over the top of the salary range. And so it doesn't take effect in Questica in your budgeting. It just, the way this sets up is we have to give everybody a 5% raise, but we had it flagged so that it would flag and let you know that those are really not going to be evaluations. Elsewhere in general, we don't have earning breakdowns. The position allocation is where you would go on your positions if you were going to be changing fund and program. So if you wanted to change this fund and program, you could put a comment in under description and put an end date in. Then you could add a line using the plus button to add a line to make that change. Or you can just go in here and change fund and program. That's the same thing with reporting category. This will not save unless your layout shows activity because it's a required field. So you may have to go in and find activity, add it, save it, tell it it's your default and save. Then you could move that over to reporting category activity and save again. So that's a similar style to all of the layouts and the way they work. if you have any documents attached to this position, like position request forms that were able to be uploaded, they would show up here. And then the administrative team can look at the history of the position, and there was no history on this particular position. If I look at 22, 23, let's see. You can see that there were 2 activities on this for the history. So this is helpful to us when you call us or email someone on the budget team and ask what happened with the position that you're not aware of, and we can look it up that way. But again, if you go to budget while you're in the position, it gives you the total cost of the position, both at the top of the screen and at the bottom of the screen. And statistics, stats, we don't use statistics yet, so that has no information in it. And then if you wanted a report on what this position costs that you could provide to someone, you can click on position wage details. And this is a really good report to attach to your new your request to refill a vacant position that HR implemented in NeoGov, and they're rolling it out now. So we've asked proof that you have money budgeted for the positions. This report's really easy to just run this way. And you can see what the total budgeted amounts are. So if it's a half year or 10 months, it would show what months that position started in. And you can download it just like you can currently Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, TIFF files, etc. So I'm going to leave those screens for now. When we're back here under budgeting, you've also got line items. So you know, fund program is where we were. Scenarios, we only have one scenario. We're not using that feature. So you can go to account summary for here and click on it just like you could before, but then you have to search. And type in the number. Whoops, I put in too many numbers. It's going to tell me there's no results. It's kind of nice to have this icon spinning in the middle of the screen instead of up in the little Questica thing, so that you can see that it's thinking. It's going out there, it's looking through the database, trying to find 3520055. It's not going to find anything. It's the unfortunate piece that you can't cancel this. So I'm going to give it a minute. And see, it won't let you change anything either while it's thinking. So I'm going to sign out to get it to stop working, maybe. Does anybody have any questions while this is thinking? There we go. Sign out, sign back in. So account summary, like I said, if I went on account, I can search for it that way. You can also bookmark that and then pull it up from here if you want. The test environment is a little bit slow. We're hoping it won't be that way once we get it into production, but test is always slow. Cheryl?
Hi, Judy.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Thank you for this. So in reports, is that where the mid-year and the year-end reports are?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I figured that it was, but
yeah, and I'll get to that, but I just want, that's
Okay.
why I'm just showing you the different things. And because this takes a while, I don't want to do too much. You can also do line items instead of account summary. So when you're in account summary, it's giving you, you know, you can set up multi-year view there. Line items is where you do your budget entry.
Okay.
And then here is actuals again. You can search actuals. You could actually search, you know, and it's going to pull up what you have access to based on your security. And then position allocations. So if I wanted to see, again, this is that global area you're looking at the bigger picture, not just your fund and program. And so it's having to go out and search harder, but this is giving me all of the information for actuals for 22, 23. But when I'm in budget here, I can also look at position allocations. And again, you have to do your own searching that way. So in reports, which is next to budgeting, once you click on reports, it'll give you a list of all the reports that you have available to you in your security roles. And I have all of the reports that are available. So there's not as many that we've given you guys access to because some of them don't really work. Since we don't use allocations, you don't need allocation summaries. But when you're looking at all reports, you can also shorten your list by going to going to recent reports or popular reports, and that shows you what reports, like recent reports shows me what reports I'm running. All categories is where you get to your budget submission reports, and it's a much shorter list because these are the reports that we want you submitting with your budget. So we categorize them that way. One of the things that we lost in this upgrade is a month-to-month view in a grid that you can get rid of the variance columns and things like that. So a monthly actuals cost, budget to actuals. So we're trying to make sure there is an ad hoc report that we can get that same information. And ad hoc reports are over here under this ellipsis. And it's something that we haven't given all of you access to ad hoc reports because we hadn't taken the time to really learn how to use them effectively. And many of the reports that are here, again, are not things that work for our setup and the way we do our work. But they are there and we will make some of them available for you. You can get, I'm trying to set up a 2-year operating budget versus actual report. There's also actuals budget by month. And so I have to set that up and then we'll give you access to it. And the way you would run something like that is after it's changed, you right mouse click on the line and then you can say run the ad hoc view and load data. And it will go out and it'll search the data and bring it up in a format that is usable for you for doing your year-end estimates and things like that. That's why I think this one is important. It's really helpful to see history monthly and be able to see, you know, what are you looking at? How are you projecting out your future? And again, I didn't filter this in any way. And so it's bringing up everything I have access to. When I do this, I'll probably set it up for you so that it works off your security rules. So this is grouped by account group descriptions, materials and services. It's giving me everything in general fund. Then it's all in numerical order. So it's giving me by fund and program. So this is a report that as we refine it and make sure it's working, then we can look at it and share it with all of you. But this does give you your current month budget and your monthly expenditures. It works pretty well, except for the only thing that we budget monthly currently is personal services. And so everything else shows, so in the personal services view, the current budget generally for a lot of those things are done by not annual amounts, but by monthly amounts. So you'd have a budget and actual, and the budget amount is only 1/12 of what the budget is. So we have to be aware of that, and we have to see if we can figure out a way to fix that. So that's pretty much the gist of how things are going or how we're looking at different things. That's kind of what we want to show you today is just how to navigate around and how to find things that you're used to looking for. So are there any questions that I can answer? We don't have a budget calendar completed yet. That's going for leadership approval tomorrow. We're going to talk through the calendar for that. Hopefully we'll get that approved soon. Cheryl, you have a question?
Yep, I got another one.
Okay.
Can you show us where you enter your budget analysis?
Oh, that's right. That's under budgeting and under fund and program. well, let me pull one up. So when you're in your fund and program, it's under general fund and program. And this brings up your org descriptions, your program description, and then budget analysis, key issues and adopted budget.
Okay, that's great.
So this year we have a lot of things that'll be changing for turning into internal service funds, things like that. So it's always a good idea that you review your organization description, you review your program description to check and make sure it's still got valid information. And then in 23-24, we'll go in and we will extract your budget analysis so that you don't have to delete it and then retype it. And we know when it's been changed. Because the 1 year, some years we were just letting you edit, but then we couldn't tell if it was the new analysis or it hadn't been done. So we go in as part of our prep work and delete it out. And like this one, I've already deleted out. If I go to human resources, you can see that it's all still there. So when you're in general, that's where you find that as well as the documents in order to make those changes. But it's really easy. You can't, while you're in the modified stage, you can't really hurt anything by going and looking. You can't change anything. So I think it's pretty safe to say that next week you can go in and start exploring. And ITS has asked us to notify everybody too, to be sure not be in Questica this weekend while they're doing the upgrade, because it won't work for you.
Thank you, Judy.
Sure. So anyone else have questions or comments? As far as I understand, the information loaded in when we take the extract from Wizard will include all the frozen positions as well as your regular positions. So anything that was frozen and removed from last year's budget should be back into next year's budget at the start. We're going to have a lot more training sessions this year for, how do you do your budget, just like we have in prior years. And we'll keep those listed on the calendar. Anything with a blue font currently on the calendar will be some things that are new this year, added in items. So we're going to try and clean up the colors on the calendar so it's not so hard to understand what the different colors mean. But anything right now with blue font is new things that we're doing. And Greg wants us to do some more open house type sessions where we'll be available to answer questions. So those are scheduled mostly on Fridays, or will be scheduled on Fridays, so that you can just drop in, ask your question, and we can answer it for you. The finance and budget team is always available for questions and answers, either by email or Teams calls. And we also are working on setting up a budget analyst for each department. We're going to have 3 budget analysts available, so we should be able to have whoever is your budget analyst that you're making, building that relationship with. You can always reach out to them first. If they don't know the answer, then reach out to all of us. And we're happy to help. And that's all that I have for today. And unless there's more questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll just move forward with the upgrade next week. We haven't seen any reason not to. We expect it to be successful. And then we'll spend the next 2 months building your next year's budget request for all the things that we put in before we turn it over to you. So thank you all for attending. I appreciate it. And anytime you have questions, just let us know. Thanks, everyone.